Special session. Supervisor Vidiello and I are here. However, Supervisor Goodman and Supervisor Surtees should be on telephonically. Supervisor Miller will not be here. He is otherwise occupied. Can we check to see that Supervisor Goodman and Surtees are around?
Surtees is here. Goodman's here.
Excellent. Thank you, gentlemen. All right. Item number 1 is discussion, approval, disapproval of the canvass of election results for the August 5, 2025 jurisdictional election for the incorporation of Santan Valley. Ms. Lewis.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, ma'am. Chairman Miller, Vice Chair McClure, members of the board, Dana Lewis, Pinal County Recorder, here to present the canvass for the consolidated jurisdictional election for the Proposition 495 to incorporate Santan Valley. Required pieces of the canvass include summary results, precinct results, statement of votes cast, provisional ballot report, the early voting and accessibility report, poll worker training, and voter education. This presentation will not have all parts of the official canvassing reports that are needed because it enumerates in the hundreds for an incorporation or election of this size. So what we do is we choose the things that are probably most informative and educational to the board and to the public. The summary results report is usually the first page of the canvass. What this will include is the number of registered voters, active registered voters for this election, and then it'll let you know what the breakout of the voter turnout was. For this instance, there were 55,081 registered active voters for this election. Turnout included 15,221. Of that, it was 1,838 on election day voting. 13,335 were early voting, and accepted provisionals were 48. This next set of graphs that are also included in the report break out the different precincts for reporting and how those ballots were cast. We love our graphs in the elections department, and this one shows where we've been tracking the voter turnout by percentage, letting you see, of course, you're going to see those mountains and valleys when it comes to primary elections, general elections, and then, of course, special and consolidated elections. 27.63 turnout for an election such as an incorporation is actually a little bit better than we were expecting. We were expecting in between 20 and 25%, so above 25% was pretty great. As you'll see from the previous CD7 special primary, we were only at 13%, so the jump up in numbers is very welcome. Again, for the July 2025 election, there was only 496, and then 15,221. That's huge. This is always one of those graphs that we put because people want to know how their parties are turning out. I want to make sure that voters and constituents understand that this was a nonpartisan election. This was a citizen election. And so what you see for registered voters for Republican, Independent, Democrat, Green, Libertarians, no labels, it's shown there. For comparison, the little graph in the corner shows you what it was like for the primary special election this past month for CD7. There has been an uptick in green voters we found in Pinal County. Of course, we always like to point that out because when we start seeing turnout numbers change a little bit, people usually ask questions. I would rather use this time at the podium to educate voters so they can see what that looked like in the Santan Valley area. Ballots cast, again, that comparison You're always going to see that our early ballots, ballots by mail or voting early in person, what this looks like, 69% of voters for this election selected to vote during the in-person early voting or ballot by mail process. Election day turned out at about 12%. We will continue to see this, unfortunately, late earlies at over 15%, 18%. These are the people that on election day decided to drop their ballot either at a drop box or at the polls on election day instead of getting it back to us so we could process in that early voting period. A good thing is to see that provisional number continue to stay steady and in the lower percentiles. The early ballot report, this is one of the things when people remove the Canvas documents and they start looking at the numbers, they have a lot of questions about. We sent out 37,096 early ballots. We had 3 in-person early voting locations up. We did 36 replacements, and remitted back to us were 13,334. When we talk about ballots rejected by the county recorder, those will be broken out in percentage here. Temporarily away from their residence, 21%. No signature. That means that we weren't able to cure that early ballot at 13%, and undeliverable. Again, we use these moments to educate our voters. That is part of the NVRA process. That voter will receive a letter saying, hey, we tried to get you a ballot, you did not return it, or we were said you don't live there anymore. So we're going to start that process that helps us maintain the voter rolls.
So quick question on that. So if they don't live there anymore and the ballot came back and you send a letter to that same address, won't that come
I have
back?
to do 2 touches.
Okay. But they won't get the letter.
Right, it's going to come back again, and then we're going to put them in the inactive status. Provisional ballot rejection report. So we received on election night 119 provisional ballots. None of them were conditionals. Conditional provisional ballots means that somebody showed up to the polls on election day and failed to bring identification with them. We actually had one person who did turn out to the polls on election day without their identification. They had plenty of time. They went home, they got their ID, and they were able to cast a normal live ballot. There was some communication at the polls with a political observer in regards to that. They thought we had turned away a voter. No, what we did was actively engaged with that voter, allowing them to submit a regular ballot and not a conditional provisional ballot, because then that takes part of the processes. Of the 119, the 71 that were rejected, 20 of the 71 were because they were out of boundary. I'm going to show a map here in a little bit that's going to explain that boundary one more time. So 20 people could have been listed out of precinct, but they were truly not in that boundary for Santan Valley. 22 of the 39 that were listed as not registered were because of DPOC. Again, this is going to be one of those things that is a challenge in Arizona, making sure people understand that we are required to show documentary proof of citizenship in the state of Arizona to vote in these elections, in these local elections. And 29 of the 48 that were accepted, this is a win for Pinal County, was because people were able to provide their DPOC by 7 p.m. on election night. Again, always tracking those provisionals, and the reason for that is usually they're because of out-of-precinct voters. Somebody is supposed to be voting at this voting location. They don't understand that we are not vote centers, that we are precinct-based, and able to make sure that we are able to reroute them to the appropriate voting location. It's been really fantastic utilizing the podium, our voter education working groups, and being out in our communities, understanding that in Pinal County we must go to our designated voting locations. And we've watched a market turn down in our provisional numbers. Ballot audit report. One of the most significant things an election specialist or an election official can do is to audit their procedures. When we talk about this, it's important to know we send ballots out, ballots get returned to us. We then go over how many people checked in at the voting location, how many ballots were actually cast, and how many ballots were returned back to us. The theory that there's all of these blank ballots out there that could somehow be easily injected into our processes. This is one of the ways that we show them that that cannot happen. One of the anomalies that we saw in the numbers, and we're always tracking this, we utilize it as a resource to train all our poll workers better, is in Precinct 76-113, two plausible scenarios for the one-off. The ballot judge could have inadvertently provided an additional ballot, and that voter cast it, and we had one, or there was a ballot outside of its provisional envelope. Again, these are processes, they are human processes. It's never going to be 100%, so we always track it so we can utilize it as training spaces. Precinct 97, we knew that there were going to be one-off. When they were doing their reconciliation at the end of the night, they did communicate with us, and we were able to identify that a standard voter checked in, there was a provisional issue, and the numbers number at the end because of that. Voter education report. We talk about being at the podium to the dais with the MOUs, going and heavy hitting on the social media, where we're at, what we're doing, registering voters, ensuring people understand the type of elections that we're encountering in Pinal County, and making sure that we've got the social media out there, that we're posting it on our website, and that we're engaging with the communities. Why do we do this? Well, because when we talk about looking at those voter turnout numbers, it is important for the people who pay taxes to know that the return on the investment does occur.
One question there. Length of time voting equipment was on public display, 27. 27 what?
27 days.
Days, okay.
27 days. And that incorporates the 3 in-person early voting sites that we have for this election and having to have the ADA equipment on at that point. So people are able to use that not only as ADA, but also we use it as voter education to explain what that process looks like for our disabled. This graph, again, shows all of the different events we were at. There was crossover between the primary special election for CD7 and the Santan Valley, so some of these numbers were also reported in the previous canvas that we did a few weeks ago. We did have 28 events, and there were over 2,000 attendees at these 28 events. This is a map of the Santan Valley Incorporation effort. You'll see in blue, this was the boundary. When I talked earlier about somebody being out of boundary, we have one area that precinct 28, part of 28, was part of the incorporation effort. So people are seeing the signs, they automatically show up, and then they realize that they're at a precinct. We are never, ever going to tell somebody that they can't vote. We will, however, have them cast a provisional ballot, and that provisional will not count if they are not eligible to vote in that election. So important to see where that incorporation effort was and where the different polling locations we had. Poll worker training overview. Again, we had 114 different poll workers, always required to have 1 inspector, 1 marshal, 2 judges, and we had 2 clerks at each one of these. That means we also had at least 2 poll pads to ensure that we do not go over the 30-minute wait time at any polling location. We're really excited to report that we did have 2 student poll workers this session, and for each polling location, there were 2 troubleshooters assigned. Trying to make sure we're managing the costs associated with elections and precinct-based voting. We have a fabulous department that works with our GIS, and they will look at the different troubleshooters and try to manage to make sure that they can be effective in reporting with under 15 minutes to any location in the event of an issue. And so this is the hot maps that they make for us to show that we're being effective. I would be remiss if I did not show gratitude or appreciation to all of the people of emergency management, IT, fleet, public works, facilities, the sheriff's office, the Pinal County Attorney's office, our communications team, and county management. Without all of you, this does not happen. Elections are big lifts, and I'm really thankful that I don't have to do it alone. Neither does our team, so thankfully for that. We will continue on with our bi-monthly election preparation meetings. We do set up the command center. For this command center, we we had a member of each one of these different departments there. It was really great to watch our new deputy county attorneys see the process in live time. Major shout out to them. And then also one of the things that we started doing this year that has never happened, I'm sure you were on the receiving, is we send out every 2 hours a stakeholder update. So that goes out to media, it goes out to the party chairs, it goes out to members of leadership, and let you know, we checked in everybody at 6 o'clock, polls were open. All of the things that really cause concern in what we do in elections, just reassuring everybody when things are going really great. Also, I would rather be on the forward on communicating if something is going bad once we've been able to start mitigating. So in the event we're seeing issues or there's concerns with weather or potentially a tree being down and needing to utilize the public works guys, we're blessed that I send these communications out to you so you know what's going on and are able to ask questions in real time. Incorporation next steps. Without the official certification of an election and a canvass, next steps cannot happen. There have been many times in the past that people don't understand why we do this and the time that we do it as established by law. Without this part of the process, the next part can't happen. In the event that there is going to be a challenge of this election, this part of the process must happen first. So upon stepping away from this podium, you will do your part, and then they have the ability, if they wanted to challenge this election, to do so by August 23rd. After the challenge period has finalized, then what will happen is on August 27th, the Board of Supervisors have agendized the next meeting to talk about next steps for the incorporation effort. I can stand for questions.
Does the board have any questions?
I don't.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor, I think that was Surdy Goodman? Or was that Goodman? I can't tell. You guys sound the same. You look the same from here. I can't tell.
Goodman.
Okay. Surdy, are you good? I will assume yes, hearing nothing from that end. Any questions from staff? Very well. Board's pleasure. And this, we have.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve item number 1 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. We're doing a roll call vote, is what I understand.
Supervisor Vitiello?
Yes.
Supervisor Goodman?
Yes.
Supervisor Surdy? Supervisor Surdy?
Yes, yes. I thought it was, I hate mute buttons.
Vice Chairman McClure presiding as chair.
Yes.
That motion passes.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. All right. Item number 2, discussion, approval, disapproval of the fiscal year 25-26 property tax levies and rates. And good morning. And I've got Ms. Williams and Ms. Woods up. Ms. Williams, you look like you drew the short straw.
All right. Good morning, Vice Chair McClure, members of the board. Lupe Williams, Budget Supervisor with the Office of Budget and Finance. Oh, it's not on. Is it on? Yeah, okay. I'll say this way. I'm happy to present with you the property tax rate and levy comparison. Along with the agenda item today is to adopt and certify the final version of the fiscal year 2025-2026 rates, which follow state statutes. Before we begin the presentation, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge this board, the treasurers, assessors, school superintendents' offices, and the budget staff with the Office of Budget and Finance. It's a joint effort to bring this item to you, and we know how much work goes into it, so we want to acknowledge everyone. Thank you for your dedication. Excuse me. So we will begin. So we began by looking at last year's county-wide average rates, so fiscal year 24-25. Last year, Pinal County had the fourth highest combined rate, the primary at the second highest, and the secondary ninth highest overall. We noticed there as well that the state average does continue to decrease year over year. Here we have our tax dollar. This year, the county comes in at about 27%. Last year, we were at 26.3%. Then we have the school districts making up the majority of the dollar, followed by cities and towns, Central Arizona College, and special districts making up the rest. On this slide, we're looking at the primary property tax rate, specifically the percent of the max rate. We're sorted here from lowest to highest, and again, this year, Pinal County is the second lowest percent of the max rate at 63.2%. So what this means is that in order to reach the maximum tax rate, there's an additional $79 million that you could have taxed your residents, but chose not to, instead decreasing. This chart here looks at our combined rate, so we're taking your primary rate along with your secondary rate. When we gather this information, we're looking at all counties. So with secondary rates, we want to ensure that we are making a consistent comparison, so we're only including secondary rates that are similar to ours, so your flood library districts. As a combined rate, the county is the fourth highest, which is the same as last year. And again, similar to last year, in that percent change from the previous year column, we're seeing another decrease this year at 3%, or a 10-cent reduction. And on this slide, we have our primary net assessed value per capita, or this is your net assessed value per person by population. We rank fourth lowest this year. Last year, we were at the third lowest. And now we look at our adopted primary levy per capita, or how much levy per person. Same ranking as last year at 10th, or we're showing also $26 higher than the average. Again, this amount is the money per person to get to the total levy, and this year Pinal County is at $283. Now we look at our legal class composition as a percent of the total net assessed valuation. So this is your makeup of valuations. Showing there you have your Class 1 commercial, Class 2 agriculture, Class 3 and 4 residential, and then all others. We see that Pinal County for commercial or Class 1 is at 21%, Class 3 and 4 residential at 71%. So our primary tax burden, here we have our levy per income, or our population's ability to pay the levy. We look back at fiscal year 10-11, where the county, we had the second highest primary property tax levy burden at 1.14%. And when we look at this year, we see that we are sixth highest at 0.57%. So big difference there. We also note that aggregate income increased from then to now at 169%. And we see a primary levy increase at 34%. Last slide here. So to recap, the county has the fourth highest primary property tax rate amongst counties at 3.363. We have the fourth highest combined property tax rate at 3.614. And the county has the fourth lowest primary net assessed value per capita. That concludes the presentation. Any questions?
I have no questions. Board, do you have any questions? Supervisor Surtee? The mute button. The mute button.
Nope.
Nope.
No questions.
Okay. Supervisor Goodman?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Let's I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. And
Just want to say thank you again for all the hard work and continue lowering the taxes, which our constituents, I'm sure, are very happy. So keep doing the great work. Thank you.
tax rates have come down in the last 5 years very nicely. Thank you.
Vice Chair McClure, if I may, before we move forward, I must state that the final fiscal year 25-26 tax levy and rate sheet has been provided to the clerk of the board's office. So the motion should be to approve the final version.
Okay. So I'm going to put that over to board's pleasure.
Vice Chair, I approve item number 2 as written, but with the final version of the tax levy, property tax levy for 2025-2026.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Thank you. And we're doing a roll call vote again, I believe.
Yes, Chairman. Supervisor Vitiello?
Yes.
Supervisor Goodman?
Yes.
Supervisor Surdy?
Aye.
Vice Chairman McClure presiding as chairman.
Aye.
That motion passes.
And with that, this meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everybody.